Woohoo! Welcome to 2025. We are in the future. Hi. Welcome to Lightbox, the official podcast of Wanimate, the West Australian Animation Association. Whether you're an aspiring animator, a seasoned professional, or simply a fan of the magical world of animation, you've come to the right place. My name is Tanya Beeson.
I'm David O'Connell.
And I'm Lindsay Flay.
And we'll be your guide in this monthly journey into the heart of the animation industry in Western Australia. Each month, Lightbox will bring you the latest and greatest in animation news, from upcoming films and shows to industry discussions that will inspire and empower the talented animators who call Western Australia home. We'll also delve into the creative processes and challenges faced by our local animators as they work tirelessly to bring their unique visions to life. So buckle up and get ready to be amazed as we explore the vibrant, ever-loving world of West Australian animation. This is Lightbox, and we're just getting started. But before we kick over, we wish to acknowledge and honour the traditional custodians of the land that we're streaming from, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation. We recognise and celebrate their enduring culture, the rich tapestry of Indigenous arts, and the invaluable contributions they make to the vibrancy and cultural diversity of this city and region.
And just the other thing is, we'd like a quick advisory warning. Look, while our channel is generally suitable for most audiences, there are occasions when we delve into topics or showcase contents that may or may not be appropriate for younger viewers. We do strive to create engaging and enjoyable content for everyone, but just be advised that some material may not be suitable for children. So parental discretion is advised. We encourage you to review the content before sharing it with younger audiences. Our goal is to provide a safe and enjoyable viewing experiences for all, and we appreciate your understanding and support to do this.
Amazing. Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Oh,
welcome to Pacific Rim times, people.
Pacific Rim times?
Yes, we're a quarter of the way into the new century.
When it's set.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So where's our giant robots? This is going to be the cry of the 21st century. Where's our giant robots? I remember we used to have flying cars, but nope.
If I want to get into a giant robot universe, it'd be the BattleTech universe. No, Robotech.
Yes.
Yeah.
Much more stylish.
Yeah, Robotech. Totally Robotech. Still get the same mechs.
Yeah, generally. You don't get the ones from Crusher Joe and the Fangs of the Dogrum, but you get some of the Robotech mechs.
However, based on and isn't the date for Robotech a lot earlier? Isn't it like 2003 or something? Yeah.
Wow. The future from 1980.
The far-flung future of 2003. Yeah.
Wow. A lot of science fiction is set in the near future. Like, look at all of Jerry Anderson's stuff.
Oh,
Space
UFO, the thing that XCOM took inspiration from, the whole XCOM game series, UFO, came out in 1971 or something?
Yeah, set in the mid-80s.
Yeah, and it's set in the mid-80s, and they're all driving these futuristic 70s cars in the 80s, if only they knew. And then Space 1999 came out mid-70s. It's like
mid to late 70s.
Almost ran into Star Wars, almost.
I think
they did, in fact, change the Millennium Falcon.
Season 2.
Yeah, that was only set 15 years in the future or 20 years in the future. And most British shows actually do that. They're all set into you're in the present, but it's a present that might have a space program in it or something. So you watch even the old 70s Doctor Who's, they do it, or the 60s Doctor Who's, where we're in the future, like a few years in the future, and we've got teleportation, or we've got something that causes a problem for the Doctor and the Master or something. So, and they don't actually ever mention it. It's always implied. So a lot of science fiction's always done that. So, now that we're actually almost we are a quarter of the way through the 21st century, it's no longer shocking to hear our students say, oh, yeah, that's a very 20th century thing, isn't it?
My gauge for the future was always 2050. So, and I'm like, we're still not there yet, but we're halfway there. Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway.
That's true.
Let's get on with animation then.
Yeah, let's start talking about stuff. Oh, no, that's the wrong button, Tanya. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
Alrighty.
I think my other half is turned up, so I might be a little bit interrupted. Go for it, Tanya.
Okay, the news is on. the news is on. So let's talk about what's yes. So Lesbian Space Princess has secured international distribution through a distributor, Bluefinch. So it was made. So the short was originally made here in Australia.
Yeah, really? I'm sure it was, the film was made here in Australia originally, and it's, as I said, got international distribution. Yeah. So let's hope it gets a mainstream release here later on this year.
Yay!
So, fingers crossed, hey? That's good. Should be fun. The other thing I guess we should talk about was, while we're talking about Australian films being made, is that a couple of months ago, the Bluey film was announced. So another Australian animation will get this later this year. Yeah.
Bluey film on its way. Oh, sorry. Back.
Yeah. One last piece of news, unfortunately. Do you want to cover this or should I?
You talk about it and then.
All right. Well, we had the unfortunate news, I think it was last week, that John Irwin died at the age of 88. He's the actor that provided the voice for He-Man and the Masters. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, and he was also the voice of Reggie Mantle in the Archie cartoons. So obviously a talent a lot of Gen X have heard throughout the time, and sadly passed away, but at a decent age. So
a good innings, as they say.
For those of you who are into westerns,
please.
He played Teddy in Rawhide, so
really?
yes. So that's why I got the picture from Rawhide.
Yeah, because
I could have got a picture of him as an old man, but I.
Oh look.
No.
I missed the whole pile. It's all nostalgia, really. I missed the whole pile of Australian actors because I was born at the wrong age. So all the Crawford productions, all the Leonard Teals, which may be names that no one in the 21st century has ever heard, but they were like mainstays of regular mainstream culture for a long time.
Leonard Teal, yes.
Yeah, things like Matlock Police and Matlock Police, Homicide. There were so many I can't even think of any. Like the Young Doctors. Is it?
True.
Cop Shop, all that stuff. And so there were so many voices that you hear that you just took for granted, and then suddenly, they're gone. It's amazing.
It's been just over 2 months since you've seen us, so let's talk about the upcoming and what's recently been released.
All right, so let's go through a few things that have come out now and streaming at the moment that might be of interest. So we've got Sakamoto Days. So that's a story about a retired hitman that's taken over a convenience store, has put on weight, and is living the happy life. It's basically John Wick if the wife hadn't died, and he was running a convenience store, but he's been called back into the assassin life.
Ooh.
So it's fun. It's nothing great at the moment, but it's watchable. Apothecary Diaries Season 2 has started, and Apothecary Diaries is something we're going to be talking about when we mention the best of 2024. It's one part CSI Forbidden City, another part romantic series, and it's exceptional in both aspects. It really is something I'd recommend watching. Zenshu is a new anime by Studio Mappa that has a lot of potential and just hasn't quite reached it yet. It's an isekai, but its change of premise is that the person that's died and been released into the fantasy world with godlike powers is an actual animator, and the fantasy who dies at her desk of a combination of overwork and a poison clam. But
okay, I'm sold.
The world that she's been released into is her favorite 80s fantasy movie, which was a box office bomb because it was so dark. And she's struggling to save the characters of that. And her magic power is that she is able to animate things. and can actually create a creature out of her animations to fight in battle. So there's a lot of, like in the first episode, she summons up the fire giants from Nausicaa, Valley of the Wind, as her weapon of choice, and just wipes out this entire army of the bad guys with one. So it's interesting, but it just hasn't reached that. It needs to do something beyond cute nostalgia, mate, and maybe start
going somewhere.
Well, demonstrate doing more than like a Super Sentai Magic sort of thing, with that just being the out every time, and investigating, I don't know, the power of nostalgia or the reasons that she becomes an animator or something like that, and push that much more. I think if it does that, it'll be really good, but at the moment it's doing it too slowly. Anyway, we've got One Piece that's coming out, and I haven't invested in the thousands of episodes of One Piece to know where we are in that, sorry to say. We've got the last arc of Dr. Stone that's come out, as you know, a lot of the world's been petrified in the future by an apocalyptic event, and they're trying to restore the world. We've got new Solo Leveling, I believe, and 10 Lives as in the cinemas as well. We've also got new Invincible on Prime that's just dropped, season 3. First couple of episodes just dropped last week, I think. So for all of you following along on that, it's an interesting take on the superhero genre.
Cool. Yes, it's quite good. First season was great. I haven't caught up with it since. But the next image, you've got Witcher, Call of the Siren.
Yes,
that's not the title I've heard. Is that because I've heard Sirens of the Deep? Is that?
Oh, okay. That might have gone a change. I think I did the original that a couple of weeks back, so it may have undergone a title change since then.
Sirens of the Deep, apparently. So.
Okay.
Some of the meta fantasy around the place, I guess.
Yeah, so anyway, it's animated Witcher's coming out tomorrow, I think, on Netflix.
Tomorrow. Which I will have a look at, actually, from the shots I've seen. Looks good. Do we know if Henry Cavill's doing the voice?
I haven't checked out anything on this one, I'm afraid.
Okay.
So I don't know. I suspect not, but who knows? We've got Win or Lose.
You've just got a voiceover. You want? Oh, sorry.
We've got Win or Lose.
You've just got a voiceover. Delay.
Right, go for it.
After you. All right. So if you've got a character as minimalist as The Witcher, you want a pretty good gravelly voice to kind of match it.
Absolutely.
I think Cavell's on-screen presence would definitely fit the bill. I'm not sure if his voice would, possibly, but yeah.
I'd be able to do it. Okay, so what have we got coming up next? 19th of February, Win or Lose, Pixar's new series.
It looks great.
Gee.
We've got
Pixar's first animated series. So yeah.
Wow. That's right. Yeah, that's true, isn't it? Jeez.
Because even all the other Pixar spin-offs were done by Disney. So this is the first original TV series created by Pixar. So yeah.
We've got The Lost Tiger coming out to cinemas on the 27th of February. And
the trailers look quite good.
Yeah, that's Australian, like a photon.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, should be good. And finally, 8th of March, we have Plankton the movie coming out. So, don't know how good, bad, or indifferent that's going to be, but more SpongeBob goodness. And that one's coming to Netflix.
He's a fine villain.
Well, reports from the SpongeBob movies, the recent SpongeBob movies, have been going well. So it's just another one to add to it. Let's see if it stays with it. Whew. Cool. Okay, that's the news.
Right. Let's get down to the grist.
We literally got through that in 15 minutes. That's good.
Hey, we might actually make it on time this
short
time.
and sweet.
We might be able to finish an episode on time. Great. Very cool. Okay. So, the great debate. We're not debating anything, though. We may
No.
disagree on
Just things that really stood out, I think, in the last 12 months.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
we're going to be talking today about the best of 2024. So, the animated series and movies that really resonated with us. And you're getting our opinions. It's not. This is completely subjective. So,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And we've got a few people in the comments, so please feel free to chime in what
ask
you
us
thought.
questions.
What you thought was the best. We're starting with series first, so animated series of last year.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
yeah. All right. So
from the top, Tanya.
Yeah. Okay. Let's leap into. So Dave's got a few anime series in his honorable mentions.
Well, it was a pretty strong year for anime. All up, we went in strong with a couple of series, making it over from 2023 and finishing off there 24. And one of those was the Apothecary Diaries, which we've just mentioned. It really is a beautiful piece. A way to do a very good female investigative character in Mau Mau, and it perfectly mixes the intrigue of the Forbidden City, murder dramas, and a little bit of love in there, and and romance in there. So yeah, it's exceptional. We've got Arcane there, which God, I love it. I recognize its quality. I want to like it more than they actually do. It is extraordinary piece of machine animation, and it looks great. It's got a fantastic feel to it, and it didn't quite connect to me as strong as some of the other pieces in this. Dungeon Meshi, Deletion in Dungeon, that is a summoning circle for me. D&D and cooking together is just perfect. And Senshi is my goddamn spirit animal. Dwarf den mother that feeds everyone is just perfect for me. It's also a really unusual series in the way that it mixes tone, and there's a lot of them, the ones that are coming up that do this. But Dungeon Meshi starts off very serious, chasing into a dungeon to try and revive his sister who's been eaten by a dragon, and couldn't even stop for supplies, so they have to eat what they find along the way. And then it kind of devolves for a while into this really lightweight comedy with no sense of urgency, before about halfway through the season just sinking the boot in a number of dramatic reveals. It's great in its world building, it's great in its insane tonal shifts, and it's just fun. Okay, and we're getting some comments on those Dungeon Meshi, Dan, and Arcane in the comments as well, I see. So
yes, so
sorry guys, my anime knowledge is shallow, but I try. I really do try. All right,
I really thought Dungeon Meshi, Delicious in Dungeon would be your top series this year.
Dungeon Meshi is probably one of the most enjoyable, but for the top, we're going to have to go to another fantasy, and I'll explain that a bit later. The final honorable mention I'm going to talk about is the hyperkinetic Dan, which is just phenomenal. Two characters meet in high school, one of which believes in cryptids, the other of which believes in cryptids and UFOs, the other which believes in ghosts and the supernatural. And as a dare, they send each other to a location that's supposed to be either haunted or visited by UFOs and find out both are correct. And it just launched into this absolutely insane romp through supernatural cryptids, monsters, UFOs, everything from the Loch Ness Monster to Turbo Granny. And it is very in your face, balls out crazy at times, hyperkinetic as anything, with the absolute banger of an opening piece. Yeah. Was it Crazy Nuts responsible for that? And it is just great. Why wasn't Down to Dan my top? There's a few reasons for that. One of the things it does, and here's a content warning, it does deal with the subject of sexual abuse. In this case of its main character, who is a young schoolgirl. And that can be often in anime a very edgy, dark related thing, done for shock value. I don't think that's the case with Dan to Dan. The ghost stories tie into that. Some of the darker side of the culture of Japan ties into those ghost stories, and see that through the histories of the ghosts that they encounter. And it's also a coming of age story, and that's something that she needs to be aware of in her coming of age. It ends on a horrible cliffhanger, but I'm looking forward to season 2. Yeah. It really is something, but I can also see how it'd be too much for some people as well. And you just got to have to, be advised, be warned going in, and make your own decisions.
Yeah, I wonder about that sometimes. It does feel, for me, it feels like that sort of thing is very reminiscent of the horrible period when DC Comics was busy fridging their female characters.
And I get it, and anime has often been that way. This doesn't feel like, I've seen enough dark, edgy anime. This does not feel the same. This feels like it's genuinely, it's spotlighting rather than a reveling in. It deals with it well, but it is part of the narrative.
Okay, so my honorable mentions of course, Lower Decks. Lower Decks is great, season 5 is a little bit. Oh God, they're asking for general chat in the school Discord. No. No.
Are there any third threes in this audience?
Yeah. Lower Decks was great series all the way through. However, 5th season kind of lagged a little compared to the other seasons. It wasn't as strong. I really liked. I really liked it, but it just didn't hit as hard. Jurassic Park.
I think in part the Lower Decks one, that was because that's also one that I appreciate as well. I think that was because it was never meant as a final season. They got informed later on. They managed to pull it off, but that season 5 was not created as a final season. There's too few episodes. There's too few episodes that are major character centered for it to be that. Yeah.
The Bluey. So Bluey is a strong series. Really, really solid writing, and it has great feels all the way through. Every episode has I literally laugh at every episode that I watch of Bluey. So, except when they're really, really tugging on the heartstrings, and they do that occasionally. So,
especially when they move house.
It's a really, really cleverly done series. It's got a lot of heart. Yeah, I can't say enough about how good Bluey is, and the reason why it's, you know, taking the world by storm. And what, we're in the 7th season of Bluey, 6th season. Yeah,
already. God.
Yeah. So hopefully we see more. Well, as Dave said earlier, the Bluey movie is coming, so should be amazing and awesome and fantastic. And yeah. Oh, well, there's hidden adult jokes in Bluey. Yes. Yes, hidden adult jokes. So
they understand the carers have to look as well.
Yeah.
Watch as well.
Yeah.
And it has to be something. It's the old kids TV stratagem where you know you're going to get your cartoon played 50 times in front of a toddler. It's got to be something that even the parents can put up with 50 times over. That's where a lot of that comes from.
True.
It's pretty good. The secret of Pixar's success.
Then there's Jurassic Park Chaos Theory, which I quite liked. I really liked Camp Cretaceous as a contained series, and this being the sequel series, spin-off series. I'm not sure exactly what you'd call it. So the series itself picks up several years after the end of Camp Cretaceous. The kids who were the main characters of Camp Cretaceous are adults, and they're involved just because of who they are. The kids who survived Jurassic World's destruction has made them a little bit famous, but you know, there's intrigue going on as it kind of follows behind the scenes of the plot lines of the Jurassic World movies. So the first, so Jurassic World and the second Jurassic World are kind of hidden in the background behind Camp Cretaceous, and this is followed on from later films. So, yeah.
Does it do the same thing as Clone Wars does and make those films make more sense?
Yeah. Actually, yes.
Good.
Yeah, no, it does.
No.
It's a
this
good.
is where the fans start saying, "Oh, but it's not about the movies, you see." Yeah, isn't that how this works?
But it's great, like getting to see the original characters from the TV series, Camp Cretaceous again, and Bumpy, you know, who is the best character of all time. He's just an ankylosaurus, and it's cute.
Nice.
But yeah, I really, really like it. So, okay, before we click on the next one, we're gonna go into Dave's number one pick, because Dave has voted for.
I had to vote for Freerun Beyond Journey's End. In many ways, this is 2023's darling, season character this year. Basically a tournament arc to end things off, which normally I hate because it just gets a bit boring. But Freerun, as usual, managed to change things up and make it interesting. Yeah, this is phenomenal. It's a complex revitalization of the fantasy genre. The first episode starts at the completion of a quest to defeat the Demon King, and that has already been done, and a adventuring group is celebrating its win and breaks up, vowing to meet again in 50 years' time. Or at least that's Freerun, the character who's an elf's take on things. And when she meets up with the group, she's startled to find that the humans in the group have aged severely, and she's the series goes on with her living in the aftermath of that adventure and coming to terms with dawning realizations on how much that time meant to her and her feelings about certain characters. It's a really interesting study into what a fantasy elf would be like in terms of that deep time that they live in. It's a great character study. Freerun is overpowered character, which is very common in fantasy anime and especially isekai. But she's an overpowered character done right. There is layers to this girl, and a lot of them are hidden behind trauma. It's also just a gentle piece, slightly melancholic tone, and it's punctuated by both beauty and sorrow all throughout of it. It's also quite capable of delivering some exceptional action scenes when the moments arise. Fern and Freeren's first engagement or major engagement with the demons, and so Alia the Guillotine mid-season of season 1 is amazing. It's coming to Netflix end of this month. It's on Crunchyroll now, and I think it's getting it's definitely getting a Blu-ray release mid-February. So
it sounds great.
Look, I could not recommend it enough. Delicious in Dungeon in many ways should have been it for me because it's just so on brand for me. But Freerin is something that appeals to me at such a deeper level. The animation is beautiful. The music is beautiful. It's just that blissful melancholy throughout as they're sort of coming to terms with how much time means and what things can happen during that period of time. I mean, the elves in this are, thousands of years old and very rare. We only met 3 so far. And one of them is a spitting image of a statue of heroes of eras gone that no one even remembers what they did, but just remembers that they are heroes. It deals with political ramifications of such an adventure and how the world would shift and change going forwards. It's a stunning piece of fantasy, and it's kind of a revitalization of fantasy in a genre that's gone too much towards isekai rather than just generic fantasy. Freerin is just, so far it's a masterpiece and something we'll probably be talking about in 10-20 years down the track if it continues on in this sort of vein.
Nice. Cool. Well, got me intrigued. I will dabble into it.
Add it to the list.
Not that I engaged that much with anime, but I enjoyed the episodes of Delicious in Dungeon that I watched, and and this sounds great, actually. So right up my alley. Let's see. Okay, so my vote for best series of last year, based on the fact that I didn't watch much anime or animation last year, like the couple of series that I did sort of touch base with and let drift in and let drift out. Yeah, so that's not saying this is anyway negative on the film that I chose to be my top, but it might seem as a surprise from a lot of people who go, huh? Okay. But The Legend of Vox Machina, season 2.
Season N.
Yes.
3, I believe.
3. Yeah. Because season 3. So Legend of Vox Machina is great. I watched a lot of the live stream of the tabletop role-playing game series, and they've adapted that as an animated series quite well. There's some big changes, including a rather significant death in the animated series that doesn't happen in the tabletop version, which was a bit of a shock. So they dropped the hammer, really. But the characterizations are great. The cast really, really know their characters, and the action is amazing. It is for adults, of course. I think it works because it feels like a tabletop group adventure. There's the joking, there's the being distracted, there's the crude insults, and the ridiculous situations in taverns. So a lot of that is going on. The plot this season brought the Chroma Conclave arc to an end, and so that paves the way for the next season, which probably means we're going to see Taryon Darrington as the next arc for the next season. We'll see how that goes, but I'm actually looking more forward to what will be the next Critical Role series, which is the Mighty Nine. I liked that tabletop adventure a lot better. It was a lot more morally ambiguous, and the characters were a lot more engaging for me. Whereas Vox Machina are, although they're fairly unique characters, they feel a lot more generic than the Mighty Nine. And at some point, I'm going to start campaign 3 watching the live shows, because I haven't, and I know there are 120 episodes in. When each episode tops like 3 to 4 hours, it's like I don't think
sounds like background audio, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You're busy doing something else. Yeah,
don't think I have enough time to cover that, but yeah, it's great. Enjoy. Okay, let's talk about movies, because we've only got a few of honorable mentions, the definite standouts. I should have added Transformers 1 on there for Dave as well.
I did like it, but it became a fairly clear choice, which would be the first number one movie for both of us in this case.
Yeah, true. So actually, having only recently watched Memoirs of a Snail, it's a great movie. Yeah, though depressing.
At every turn, almost.
It's so Melbourne.
Yeah. It's set in Sydney, I'm pretty sure.
Canberra.
Is it?
It's set
No,
in
not with
Canberra.
Luna Park in the background.
Yeah, Luna Park's in Sydney.
And
Yeah,
Melbourne.
but she's doesn't she go? Oh, okay, you're right. Luna Park's in Sydney, but
I lived around the
Lancaster
corner
is
from it in
Canberra.
Melbourne for about a year.
When she gets older, she moves to Canberra.
Yeah.
So it is, and they mentioned Perth as well.
Yeah, her brother's just outside of Perth in a cult.
Yeah.
But they think there's something beyond the Western Sandy Desert or something. Good heavens.
Oh, no.
That's
West
Eastern
Australia
States
is
reference.
West Australia is not treated in a positive light.
No. Think of Narnia,
Really
but
isn't.
evil. And you don't go through a cupboard. You go through a long highway to nowhere.
No,
That's how we're seeing.
It looks to be an apple picking cult down south, basically.
So,
Hi, welcome to Prejudices from the 20th century. Yeah,
it's something. It is something, but it's an extraordinary piece. It really is. But it's
something I was thinking.
Just technically, great stop motion animation. I was sitting and I went through a few, like I watched it a little bit of slow motion through some of those sequences to see how they'd done things like flames and that. But Adam Elliott once again pulls out a fairly engaging and interesting film with Memoirs of a Snail, and the characters are great. But yeah, the film is depressing.
Well, that's his signature style, isn't it?
It's
it really rolls.
He's a bit like a Wes Anderson in that respect. He's an auteur. You know what to expect. The signature style.
Cool. Yeah. Talk about the other film, Dave.
I actually haven't. You're going to have to fill this one in.
You haven't seen it.
I actually saw it myself.
Seen it yet. No,
I saw it at the big screen too.
Tell me what you
So-
thought of it before I add my piece, then, Linz.
I thought it was an okay sequel. I thought Anxiety was probably the best character in the whole thing, really. But I'm thinking, like, what's amazing about it? It's like, well, a bit of more of the same, really, except the ensemble just got bigger, and now they're using secondary colors to fill in the bits. But if you know what I mean. So
Fear
it
is
felt
purple. He was already
true,
there.
true. And Joy is just as obnoxious and as ever. She's a great non-villain villain. I think she's good. But some of the I think definitely Anxiety stole the show, and all the other characters I don't really remember that much. But I don't know. Maybe it's because we deal with this in our classes, perhaps. But she's great. I just like the way she works herself up into a frenzy, trying to make everything perfect. It's like, this sounds familiar. But, to be honest,
that.
as much as I enjoyed it as I watched it, there wasn't that much I found memorable about it. And it kind of continued on from the first one, but I still find most of the first one is still quite distinctive for me, whereas this one was a little bit, it's already established, so it's really just filling in the corners, really. It's not like, say, the third Toy Story, which really almost felt like it exceeded the first one almost, and did this fantastic, the third story wrapping everything up, and it was really elegant. This one's kind of like, it's good, but it's solid.
Get ready for Toy Story 5.
Oh God, yeah, it's become a franchise now. So I hope this doesn't happen to this one, although I'm sure it's well on its way.
With Inside Out, like, because there's already a spin-off TV series for it. It's called Dream Productions.
Yeah.
Which was out 2024, but I never watched it.
Came out like December anyway, so
the Inside Out 2. I liked how they added the layer of complexity on top of it.
That was good.
As Riley is aging, you're going, got the changing emotions, so the ramifications you get from the end of the first one are just not ignored. They're actually rolled with, essentially. So we find that, Riley's a little bit well adjusted and has, a solid game plan going on, and, wants to learn, wants to go to ice hockey camp. And it's all fun and awesome. And then the new, more mature emotions start appearing, and you get Anxiety, who is great.
She steals the show, really. He's awesome.
And Ennui, and Ennui is
number
great.
2. Ennui is great, and I'm glad we don't see much of her. That works just right.
And then Nostalgia as well.
Too early to be nostalgic. You're still in the moment at that age.
Yeah.
And Embarrassment was like, not quite. But Ennui is awesome. She's great. She's channeling lots of Edna E mode in there, I think.
I found I was more engaged in the actual Riley plot rather than the Joy and the crew plot, if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Whereas the first movie is definitely about Joy herself and then Riley through that coming to terms with the need for more complex emotions. So Inside Out was more relatable than what I expected, and I think that what makes it a great movie.
Well, it's a really interesting premise. That's something that animation does really well. So 15 out of 10 for Pixar for making even something like this, and especially in a land of Disney princesses and stuff. This was a really distinctive thing. So even though I might have a few things to say about the sequel, I'd rather see something like this as a sequel than 2 dozen bland stuff coming off the production line. If that makes any sense. So it was a good film to see, but I must confess, it really slipped my mind.
I heard they were trying extra hard to make it not gay because they thought that's why Lightyear failed.
Lightyear failed because there was no point to Lightyear.
Yeah.
The premise
Lightyear was a bad
interesting,
movie. Yeah.
but look, it was one of those things where the idea couldn't survive production. It's got nothing to do with anything else. It was like, why? I was watching that thing and thinking, why am I here? The reason is it's got generic science fiction tropes. It's got a generic this and that. Does the usual thing at the end. It's like, okay, wake me up when this is over. Yeah.
The only good thing about the Lightyear movie was the robot cat.
Yeah, and even that's a bit of a secondary character steals the show. That's not kind of a good look. So yeah,
but yeah, it's definitely like that's probably a little bit of a backlash to Lightyear because of that, and that's why they took out some of the elements, because they were talking about Riley having a girlfriend by the end of the series. So yeah, by the end of the movie, but she's only just going to puberty, so yeah. So we'll see how that goes. In the next movie, which I don't know, I feel they kind of done puberty when they did Turning Red, which is,
Turning Red. I think that pretty much summed it up near perfectly. Actually,
it's great movie. It's
I think
amazing.
If they'd kept it to Turning Red and this and the original of this, with a few bits of it there, I think you would have covered both subjects nicely. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we've got two choices, two best. So Dave and I pretty much agreed on best animated films. Yeah. And Lindsay's got his own. So we'll talk about ours. The Wild Robot, which is amazing. It's so beautiful. I definitely loved The Wild Robot. The characters, all the characters, and there's quite a swathe of characters through the entire film. Like, they're introducing pretty much new characters to nearly 2/3 through the movie.
Pretty much, and it manages to handle that weight of characters, which I didn't expect it to, and gives them at least some degree of an arc throughout the story.
The voice actors are amazing. The characterizations are fantastic. Like the possum, the opossum. Oh my god! There's some really mature jokes in there.
There's some dark jokes in there, especially with the possum kids.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that nature?
Yeah, they go there. They absolutely.
If it's all in context, it works fine. I mean, we went through Watership Down.
Yeah, it's true.
We can get through this.
True.
This is an acknowledgement of what nature is.
They make quite light of it in
that's fine.
This, whereas they excruciatingly lay it out in Watership Down.
Oh well, Watership Down was a relatively new concept and direction, which I guess has now become a genre, hasn't it? Naturalistic talking animal trope.
Yeah, but Wild Robot's not going to be shared with psychologists 40 years later as to when their childhood broke. Let's just put it that way.
I just like the idea that a robot goes out into the wild, and rather than learning humans, it learns animals instead, which I think is a really nice trick.
Yeah.
It's a really nice premise.
And it is gorgeously handled. That painterly style that the animation's got is just utterly phenomenal.
I said this earlier in the year. This is where DreamWorks has surpassed Pixar.
I agree.
It's a great film. It looks fantastic. The character design is amazing. The voice actors that they got, do a perfect job through.
And it's original.
The characterization is good, not just the design, the actual way they implement the characters and their arcs throughout. Yeah, it's just a phenomenally written piece. It really impresses.
there's well, we could go into pretty much every single character and actually really really go deeply into how much they all impact the story. You know, right from the goose themselves through to the bear, which, you know, has a couple of lines and just rocks up at the end. It's cleverly done, that blends the technology and nature thing. It's obviously set in a future setting, and it hints at a larger world, but doesn't go too deeply into it.
Doesn't get distracted.
Yeah. It focuses on the story, the wild robot, the island, the animals. It's great. So the wild robot.
Must
watch homework.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. It's weird that something that's about animals and a robot can be so humanistic as well. Because it really is.
Very cool. Okay. Come on, Linz.
Well, okay, this is my one, and how could it not? Now, compared to, say, the storytelling of The Wild Robot or something like that, this would be a hell of a lot more simplistic. However, this one kind of reminded me a little bit of the Lego movie. It's got more sight gags and it's packed full of stuff than an old Mad Magazine comic. It's pretty cool. All the characters are pretty amazing. The thing I love about this is, of course, it's stop motion, and it's got that wonderful sense of British understatement. So it's got all the best of British, so to speak, you know, all the stop motion tradition and stuff like that. It also takes the piss out of itself, which is really good. And the two main characters, Gromit and Feathers McGraw, are so wonderfully minimalist. It makes me weep for joy. I mean, watching Feathers scheme and calculate with just the smallest and almost imperceptible head nods is just fantastic. And I think my favorite scene in the whole thing is when Feathers actually hacks into Wallace's computer inside the zoo, and he starts off with this ridiculous contraption that's like something out of a Wallace and Gromit get up in the morning machine. It's like this box with a large glove on it, and he's basically reaching across these sleeping keepers and typing in digits, and he has to find the password for Wallace's computer. And of course he's thinking, oh yeah, and it finally works out it's cheese, of course. And then almost immediately he's thrown up with an anti-hacking method where he has to select all the pictures of cheese in there, and one of them, of course, is the moon. And you see this moment where Feathers is agonizing and sweating bullets, like, moon, yes, click. He's in. And then he changes, he sets Norbert to evil, and Norbert has a whole pile of settings ranging from good to slightly annoying. It goes through this full range all the way through to evil, and it's just fantastic. Like, nice work, Wallace, well done. You programmed evil into him to begin with, but there's all these beautiful touches to it. So it's all definitely stop motion, but they'll augment it with 3D visual effects. So it's either Mayer's Bifrost system or Houdini or whatever it is. So they have all the standard stop motion stuff, and then they've done a second pass when they've done all this 3D work on it, and it just fits in so together you don't even notice it. And they've actually designed some of their, the bubbles of their submarine shots and all that sort of crazy Feathers McGraw stuff with actual looking stop motion looking objects that double as particles, but it's all driven by a 3D system. So they've styled everything to fit in with the actual action. And of course, there's all the, as you can see from the picture, they have smoke and fog. So that's all added in post afterwards as well. So it's beautifully integrated and it's all superb. And like I say, it never slows down for a second. I mean, it takes so long to make one of these things, like every frame is packed. There's no fat anywhere. And it's full of sight gags. And I made some notes, like, so Wallace's Peter Sallis died at the age of 999 or something, and some dude called Ben Whitehead took over. And it was basically, I couldn't tell the difference. It's a good handover. There's a couple of characters in there that really stand out. There's Anton Deck, which I think's a play on some rappers in some reality TV show that won their version of a music competition or something. So Anton Deck is this northern news anchor, and he's got this thing where he's got a journalist on your doorstep. And on your doorstep is played by Diane Morgan, who's, The World According to Kunk. So she's playing a straight-laced journalist. So one minute she's reporting on this amazing Norbert, the garden gnome story. And then the next time turns up, she's heading an angry mob, and then she's reporting on the evil mad inventor, Wallace and Gromit. So it's full of good stuff, and all the sight gags are really good. Like, all the army of evil gnomes, the low speed barge chase at the end, all the little. It's like a bit like Fury Road, where they've really storyboarded this thing to death, and there's about 10 different story arcs happening at once. Some of the great characters were. What was it? There's the police, like this old incompetent police officer, and this young enthusiastic recruit, and she's really happy that there's an actual honest to god crime spree in her town. She's just, all her Christmases have come at once. It's just great all the way through. And like The Wrong Trousers, which it really reminds me, it's like The Wrong Trousers 2 essentially. Okay. So it's not like The Were-Rabbit, which had a different feel, and it's not like what's the one with the bread, I can't remember, but they've got Terminator references all through it. It's got a different feel again, but this is like heading back to the original appeal of the old Wrong Trousers, which was as much a play on old-fashioned suspense films and Hitchcock and stuff like that as anything else. But it's incongruous because you've got this ridiculous inventor and his mute dog. He's got these relentlessly cheerful garden gnomes that get up to evil. And in the middle of it, there's Feathers McGraw, like a kind of eye of the storm, who's just so still and so quiet and so subtle and stuff. Yet you can almost feel the fury boiling inside him. It's great. I can recommend it. It's good.
Wow.
Oh, really? You'll have to take revenge on your high school art project.
Oh, no.
It's worth your time. If you can see it on a big screen, that would be great. I think you'd appreciate the live action or the stop motion a bit more. Catch a better look at those fingerprints. But no, it's good. I could keep going for hours with it. There's lots in there. So yeah.
Okay.
It's cool.
Well,
that's my pick. Oh, and my runners up were essentially Arcane, although I can't get into it. Great Mishima design, all that stuff, but Lower Decks, yeah, I felt it's a bit fan servicey and stuff. Sorry, did I say that? But I like its informality.
It literally is fan service.
It is built on Easter eggs, but there is much.
But every now and then it'll start go off and do a serious story, which is nice. That makes it nice. And then occasionally they'll have like oh god, this is a reference to a whole pile of other things clutched together. If someone mentions Voyager one more time, I'm going to scream or something. So it's got that kind of slightly proletarian feel. It's like, oh yeah, it's the run-of-the-mill crew, not the usual frickin' elite talking heads that we get at the frickin' bridge level. This is actually, that's the nice aspect to it. But yeah,
I think like the end episode of season 3, where all the Cali classes appear to take on the big bad of the Alito, is probably one of my favorite moments in that series. It just shows how proletarian it is. It is all about the workaday guy.
That's right. The run of the mill, every folk.
The one that has to keep the machines running,
Yeah, exactly. The people that actually make the thing bloody work.
With Arcane, and being the first series that really delved into the cetacean ops.
Yeah.
Yes, I guess. With Arcane, I just can't seem to get into it. I've tried a few times, and the surface look and the whole design aspect of it is just wondrous, but it keeps reminding me of World of Warcraft's lore, where it's so generic, it just makes me want to tear my hair out. So if I was in World of Warcraft, I'd go to the Dwarven Kingdom, and it's all full of places called Ironforge or Burning Ember, and it's like Planet of the Hat's tropes, where you go to somewhere and it's like, oh yes, we're at Planet of the Hat, or Planet Hattia, where we go to Planet Hattia City, and they all speak Planet Hattian, and they're the Planet Hattian culture, and it's like that's one note, and I just kept finding, why am I here in Arcane watching this stuff? It feels I would get something out of it if I actually played the game and I could groove on the referencing of the characters. And occasionally there's bits in it I think, oh yeah, here we go, it's starting up. No, it's not. It's now going back to like, oh no, it's how stylish villain doing stylish villain things and looking uber cool. It's like, okay, great. When you finish being uber cool, again, nothing happens. So yeah, I found it a bit frustrating. To be honest, I got more out of Wallace and Gromit and Feathers McGraw. I thought he was a far more effective villain in spite of his lack of style. So yeah, I don't know. I think the overall context of Wallace and Gromit worked for me. There's a lot of references in there that I get, which are mostly old cinematic ones. So it's a different era. I'm showing my age.
We're at the outlook. Should we start wrapping it up and just saying,
I think so. I'm pretty much done.
Is there anything we're looking forward to this coming year as far as animation goes?
Oh, that princess thing you showed me earlier was looking pretty good. The Australian show.
Yeah.
And the Bluey movie, of course. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yep, and so
that would be great. Whether we'll see the Bluey movie this year, but yeah, there's definitely.
Look, if I have to wait, it'll be better. That's all.
We've got one contender coming out in March here that was one of the contenders for 2024's Best Animated on the world stage, and I think actually pulled off Golden Globe with Flo. Yeah, we're getting it.
Is that the one with the pussycat, or am I thinking of something?
Yeah, it's the one with the cats. We're getting that March.
Flo.
Yeah,
that's definitely on my list. That's Blender, isn't it? Be interesting to see that shake up the.
Interesting if it is. I
think it is. It's mostly Blender.
I think it is. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So expect your prices for software to go down a little bit.
Software. You know, people are if it does go places, people are definitely going to start getting worried at the.
No, that's probably going to put Blender under a bit of pressure as well. Like, do they commercialize or not? And if so, how?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they can't run on nothing forever. Not if they're doing this.
True. For me, there's a few anime coming out that's going to be interesting. We've got Dan to Dan Season 2, which we mentioned Dan to Dan already. We've got more Gundam coming out, Gundam Quacks, which is going to be interesting because it's the creator of Neon Genesis and Shin Godzilla that's heading it. So it's a redo of classic Gundam. So yeah, I'm curious to see what it happens to end out to be. So. And the other one that I think might be worth a look at is Witch Hat Atelier, which is, again, classic fantasy anime, but done in a very Studio Ghibli style. So, and the manga is absolutely beautiful from everything I've seen of it. It's one of those that uses its formatting quite well to tell a story and breaks out of some of that comic book format a bit. To become much more artistic and playing around with the panels. So I'm curious to see how they'll translate that into anime. But looking at the trailer, it looks really, really, really impressive and beautiful. So see how we go. I believe Solo Leveling Season 2, I think, is out now. Bear with us a second. I will confirm that.
Well, while you're doing that, this year, what am I looking forward to? I do want to see Flo. I get to finally see a film that I worked on in the cinema, which is
Tanya?
Tatina. Yeah, so Tatina is getting
okay.
a small local release here in Perth because a bunch of animators worked on it. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, so I'm excited to see that on the big screen. Yeah, that's where I'm sitting. With future seasons of TV series, like I said, the Mighty Nine is the one that I'm really interested in from the Critical Role crowd. So yeah.
Yeah, Solo Leveling Season 2 is out now, so it should be on Crunchyroll at the moment. And it's being...
Yes, my name is in the credits. Yes.
As are a few students, I would imagine, at the time, or graduates by
Yes,
now.
so a bunch of graduates and things like that. So.
Ooh. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I didn't mention it because I didn't know if it'll get a 2025 release as well. So fingers crossed.
See how we go. Okay, well, we should start wrapping things up. You can free to go to watch Solo Leveling now because we're gonna wrap it up, and I'm gonna go get some dinner. And
yes.
Yeah,
I've got some cats to play with and some things to do. So.
Yeah, I'm engaging with some Falcon and the Winter Soldier this week because Captain America 4 is out. So
yeah, we get to see Hulk. So yeah, Red Hulk.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah,
I'll add that to the 435 MCU movies I haven't seen yet, but I should put on my watch list at some point. Maybe I'll treat them like a kind of giant series or something. Yeah.
So let's, I guess, say goodbye and go do that. So
yes. Bye from me.
See you, Tanya.
Goodbye from him.
Wow. I'm falling to bits.
Bye, and Lindsay's disintegrating.
Oh, no.
So yeah.
All right. Take care. We'll catch you in a month's time.
A good friend.
Thank you. See you all soon.
Okay. Catch you later, guys. Cheers.
Bye.
Oh.